All right, here we go.
I actually hated what I said too, so we can
Okay.
start from the top.
Okay.
From the top.
From the top. Welcome back to Punchline, the marketing podcast where we're not afraid to say what you're thinking.
And what everyone else is too scared to say out loud.
I'm Beth Cormack.
And I'm Drue. And today we're tackling something that has become an absolute epidemic in our industry, layoffs.
With over 150,000 tech workers laid off in just Q1 alone of this year, and 31% of that being marketing departments, this is truly an epidemic that we need to talk about.
And we don't want to cover it in that toxic LinkedIn, everything's a silver lining kind of way. No, that's not what we're about here. Let's get real about what these layoffs are doing to real people, their real careers, and their real lives.
Because if I see one more everything happens for a reason post about a layoff, I'm going to lose my shit.
I think we all will. So pull yourself whatever you need to get through this honest conversation about job insecurity, corporate PR spin, and finding authentic ground in an industry that's becoming increasingly unstable.
This is Punchline. Let's get into it.
Beth, this is not something you or I are entirely unfamiliar with. I know I'm carrying kind of maybe a little bit of baggage into this conversation. Really looking forward to our weekly therapy session talking about this.
Honestly, I'm so excited and I needed it because just last night I was legitimately sobbing about the job market and currently going through it. But yeah, so I'm really excited for this conversation to talk about it. This episode might be like a little bit, we like compiled a bunch of different stats to talk about too, because, you know, while Drue and I have our own personal experiences, unfortunately, both of us have gone through it several times. We also wanted to talk industry wide and what this means for not just like layoffs in general, but specifically for marketing and also different trends that we're finding for the rest of 2025. We don't know all the answers, but we're hoping to like share our stories and provide some insight that's helped us emotionally navigate through it, meet the right people, make the right connections, and yeah, hopefully come out on the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound like the LinkedIn posts that I was literally just shaming, but you will come out on the other side of it. You, Beth, now as you're navigating the job market, and anybody who might be listening at home who maybe is having even just anxiety about the potential of being laid off. That's something I think we all struggle with, regardless of companies big or small. And like you said, Beth, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is reporting 150,000 tech workers being laid off in Q1 of this year. So it's something that is super personal. I'm excited to get into it and sad that we have to get into it. Wish this wasn't a conversation we were having.
Yeah, and I think this is especially relevant today. We're recording this podcast on a Wednesday on the 14th. It won't come out until next week, but just yesterday, Microsoft went through a huge round of layoffs, and Microsoft also owns LinkedIn and GitHub, which is also impacted by layoffs. I just feel like every time I open LinkedIn, it's, you know, someone somewhere is impacted by layoffs or struggling through the current job market. And I am right there with you because it's really hard. It's really hard to, you know, just mentally keep showing up for yourself in a job market that is really working against you. And I don't want this episode to turn into a doom, you know, black hole, super negative thing, because there's been a lot of, I mean, like, you know, I also don't want to sound toxic positive either. So it's this weird balance that I feel like I'm constantly trying to navigate in my own head, because I do have to believe that I will come out on the other side and I will find something, and something's got to give at some point. And I feel like people have said to me in the past, how do you stay so positive? I'm like, I don't have anything else. Like, I need to hold on to that belief or else I will literally go insane. And what's particularly scary for me working in the social media space, and Drue is in the content space as well, we're seeing the stats are showing that those particular marketing functions are being hit way harder by layoffs than even last year. We're seeing that social media and content roles are being laid off 47% more times than last year, which is crazy. So personally, I've been laid off since October 31st. Go me. It's been like 6 months now. I don't know. Should we start off just like talking about our own personal layoff stories and like kind of what, I don't know, the emotional personal journeys that we've kind of been on because of it?
Yeah. I think we can definitely do that just to provide some context of where we're coming in from. I've been at my current company for 2.5 years, and I landed here as a result of being laid off. 2022 was a rough year for me, you guys. I was in-house at a sleep textiles bedding company for 6 months, got let go at the end of February, found a new job at the beginning of March, and lost that job on Halloween of 2022. Really fortunate. I was unemployed for 4 weeks at that time before I got my offer for my current role. I think there's nothing that hits your ego harder than getting that like last minute calendar invite or the email in your inbox saying that like there's a restructure or layoffs, and just feeling scared. I started at my current company in December of 2022. And in January of 2023, there was a round of layoffs, and that was terrifying. Like being brand new in that company and feeling like I just survived 12 months of going from job to layoff to job to layoff. Fuck. What is going
Why
on?
is this? I don't know. What are we doing? Why is this so hard to talk about?
Let's just level set here. I knew that this episode would be hard to record for a lot of reasons. And it's something that is personal. It's something that's scary. I'm so sorry, but if you work in marketing, especially in like a creative function, I'm not telling you that you should be scared, but I'm telling you like the market that we're in, I think it would be very naive to feel like you are
100% secure.
Yeah, nobody is.
Yep.
I'm just speaking from experience at previous companies. I think
And I
that's
also
what's
think, I
tricky.
mean, and the general kind of stats show it. Like it's like
Yeah.
really just impacting all industries across, and like you just never know. And I think like for me, I've been laid off. Well, I don't know. Mine's kind of interesting because I have talked about this in previous episodes, but I worked for myself for the first half of my career. And my clients were primarily in the food and beverage space. And I also owned an events business. So once March of 2020 hit, COVID, I lost all of my business, like literally within like 1 to 2 days. And I wasn't necessarily laid off. It was kind of like the rug was pulled from under me, and in a very like unexpected way. Like, people, the pandemic was something that one really could have prepared for mentally, physically, etc. So that was like the first time. And then that kind of pivoted me into corporate. And I was at that company for about 3 years. They went through one big layoff while I was there, and similar to I survived it. And then you feel all these weird feelings. It sounds dramatic to say, but it's like kind of like the survivor's guilt, where I'm like, some of my friends who were coworkers turned to friends, got laid off, and you don't really know how to. I'm like, I know I want to reach out to them and check in to see if they're okay, but I also don't want them to, I don't know. I don't want to bring up these feelings for them because I still have a job and it's so hard. And then that layoff happened, and that was the first time that I had experienced, not that I was laid off at that one, but I was like, that was the first time I experienced a corporate layoff, and it was really scary. Like it was just like, wow, okay, like this job. And then I just like did not feel a sense of job security at all. Cause I'm like, this could happen to me. Some of my coworkers that got laid off were extremely hardworking, very talented, really smart people. And I'm like, well, fuck, if they were impacted, like this could happen to me. Sure enough, it did. About a year later, I was laid off from the same company. But at that point, I was kind of ready to go. I was like looking for other opportunities, and I had a great experience at that company, but I was like kind of like I felt like the layoff was more of like I was nudged gently out of the door because I was kind of already on my way out. I was like wanting to look for something new. And then luckily, similar to you, Drew, I found a job within 3 to 4 weeks. And so that was the last company I worked at. And I was there for a year. And that layoff felt a lot different because that one, I was not ready to leave. That one felt like a really big shove out the door. And it was so unexpected because and only it was like I think it was like 5 or 10% of and it was a smaller company, so like not a lot of people were laid off and let go, and that was like a forceful push, and I was not mentally prepared at all for that. And I just remember like getting on a call with my former manager, and then the HR person was on there, and I was like, fuck. And then I lost my health insurance on the same day that I was laid off. So granted, and then the company before that, at least I had like a buffer of time, and I'm a type 1 diabetic. So losing my health insurance is also like sent me into panic. So yeah, that layoff just hit different. And it was right before the holidays. It was also to you, it was Halloween. So I like took a couple months off to really just like, no one's hiring during Thanksgiving or Christmas anyways. So I took a couple months off. And I kind of had this like mindset of like, oh, well, I found a job within a month before. I can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then no, I was so wrong.
Yeah.
And I've spent like, this has been this time period of me being laid off has been a true test of my resilience. And I talk about this a lot with people in terms of like the concept of forced resilience, where you don't really want to be resilient, but life has other plans and you kind of are forced to be. And that's kind of what I've been in, this like fight or flight mode for the last 6 months of just trying to navigate this job market, I'm 32 years old. Like I'm trying to figure out what I want to be doing next. It's just been this constant push and pull and like mental gymnastics in my head. And I said this to Drew privately, but like starting this podcast has truly given me purpose. And I might like start crying.
That's okay. I might too. Two Pisces girls.
It's like I was like, I've been in like the lowest mental place like in a long time the last few months, and I've really struggled to find purpose in my day. And I just feel like, like we said, getting laid off is a huge hit to your ego. It makes you feel like I'm not worthy, I'm not like deserving, I'm stupid, like it brings up all these feelings of like rejection and really hard things to navigate. And like, especially when you don't know when it's going to end, like when is this chapter going to close and my next chapter going to come with like a new job opportunity or my next career move? I don't know that, and that like brings me a lot of anxiety. And so I feel like I've just been like floating from thing to thing the last 6 months, and just like during my like day to day. And doing this podcast has like truly brought me the purpose that I've needed, and it's re-energized me and made me like, it's like flexed the part of my brain that I've been missing, like talking about this stuff. And I'm really lucky to do it alongside another good friend of mine and someone who gets it. But yeah, it's definitely just like such a difficult mental thing to navigate, and no one really talks about it. Like it's just the mental toll it takes on you, and you have just constantly needing to show up for yourself when you don't have the energy to, but you don't have a choice because bills are coming, you got to pay, you got to keep moving, you got to keep grooving, and it's really, really fucking hard. So that's my little rant, but that's kind of been my experience with layoffs. So we'll see what is next for me.
Yeah, I'm excited for what's next for you, Beth. And I think just as your friend watching you navigate this job market over the last 6 months, I just want to shake these hiring managers and CMOs and VPs of marketing, because like I work with a lot of amazing marketers. Truly, you are like best of the best. It's very confusing. And I know that's not productive for you to hear, but like hopefully validating. Like, yeah, like I don't know what's going on. And I think it's just a sign of the market and how fucking crazy everything is right now.
Yeah.
And it's scary. It's scary as hell. Morning Brew just put out some stats recently that like 72% of marketing professionals that they surveyed, we're all kind of feeling this insecurity right now. Like we're all scared for the future of our jobs. And I'm just going to say it. I think maybe we know why. Let's talk about AI, Beth. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's fucking talk about it.
Let's fucking talk about it. Oh my God. Yeah, no, at the last company I worked at, I like built this whole AI machine to help with like our content stuff, and like built it from scratch. And like, you bet your ass, I like sent that to myself like the day that I was laid off, because I'm like, I built this is mine. Like, what I know it's technically belongs to the company, but still, like I built it from scratch. I built the template, I built the framework, and I can't help but wonder, did that impact me losing my job? I don't know. And like, it's such a like catch-22, because Drew and I love Claude. Like Claude is our bestie. Like we use it all the time for like podcast planning, for like, we still use our own brains, which I think is important. But like, I think a lot of these companies are having these people like train these AI models. And I don't know, it's like, it's a part of your job because it makes you more efficient in-house. But I think what a lot of these companies are missing is like, sure, you can train this AI model all you want, but like, you're still missing that. If you're missing that human element, your content's just not going to be the same. And Drew, I think we had talked about this last week or the week before. I can't remember. Like I said, we love to use AI to help things be more efficient, but I think not enough companies are investing in truly building out a content machine. Like, and that does not mean an AI content machine. That means AI is maybe it's a proponent of it, but you need a fully functioning content machine that helps social media, that helps with, content, gated content, with all of these different things. And if you're like, I feel like that is, and I've been talking to a lot of like tech startup founders recently, and it's given me a lot of hope in the marketing world, because a lot of them are like doing that early. Like that's kind of what they want to invest in. They want to start doing founder-led social. They want to do more video content. They want to do this, they want to do that, which unfortunately, like a lot of companies say they want to do that, but they don't provide enough resources in order to do that. And I think a lot of these execs are thinking like, oh, AI can do all of that. But no, a well-oiled machine, like I said, AI content is a part of that, but it's not the whole fucking thing. And I think like that is the point that everybody is missing when it comes to like that subset of people that think AI is just like the whole world, where sure, it's the future and we should be smart about how we're using it, and it should help like internal efficiencies, but it's not a content machine.
Yeah.
It's not.
Beth, this is so absolutely so personal for me. And I want to preface this by saying we actually, this week at my company, we've been having a lot of like AI training, professional development kind of stuff. It's a real core area of focus for the marketing team where I'm at, which is exciting because I think I'm actually leaving a lot of those sessions feeling more encouraged than scared. And I think like I'm grateful to be in a position where like I am kind of able to upskill and learn these new tools, and I'm encouraged to adopt really fast and use AI to like solve problems. But I want to say that because I know a lot of CMOs are not like that. A lot of marketing
Mhm.
leaders like have this mindset where content writers are replaceable. Social media strategists are replaceable because ChatGPT can make my social strategy for me. Claude can write this original research report for me. And like can and should are two very different things. And
Yep.
if you follow me on LinkedIn, you are not surprised about what I'm about to say. Critical thinking is essential. Critical thinking is like an essential skill that I just am truly so terrified for, especially as I'm thinking of
Yeah.
like junior marketers. And like when I'm thinking about myself 1 year, 2 years out of college, I was doing tasks that are now being delegated to ChatGPT.
Hmm.
And this is not an original thought by any means. Like I know there are a lot of really brilliant people out there talking about it, but I can't help but wonder, how are we going to see in 5 to 10 years, how are folks at our career level gonna get there? And I know that it's a perspective thing. Like I know that it just means that entry level marketing careers are gonna look different than they did for you and me. I just am really struggling with what that is going to look like, and like
Yeah.
where are they going to learn these like really foundational skills and concepts if this robot is doing all of these tasks for us?
Yep. It's like that, like I think it's called empty internet theory or something like that. I correct me if I don't know. I'll have to look it up after the show, but I think it's called like empty internet theory, where it's like this concept that we're getting to a place of the internet, like, where bots are creating content consumed by more bots. Bots are in the comment sections. Bots are the one chatting to each other. Like it's all just becoming like so, I don't know, scary, like
Yeah.
AI stuff. And I think you're right on the nose with that. And like I don't like entry level positions and using AI. It's like I worry that in 5 years from now, all of these marketing strategies are going to be the fucking same because they're all feeding the same tool, the same shit. Build me a social strategy. And you know that, like, if you're not, it's one thing if you're putting in like very detailed inputs, which does require critical thinking in order to like feed the prompt what you need it to do specifically that will help your brand. But I'm worried people aren't. They're saying, build me a social strategy for this SaaS company and then outspits it. Are they all going to look the same? And
Yeah.
I would even go so much to say as like next year, like the way that like how much AI is being adopted and like just like relied upon by these execs. And yeah, I saw this tweet today, not tweet, I'm not on X, ew. I saw this meme on Instagram that was like, bestie, are you okay? I fear that we're not using our critical thinking skills today. And I'm like, yeah, I fear that too.
I fear that every single day. The thing that really enrages me, and I'll get off my soapbox about this topic after the thing that really enrages me is like I'm noticing more and more people who are using ChatGPT to comment on my LinkedIn posts, or like I'm getting emails from people and I can just, not because they're using an in dash, fuck. I can just tell that they're like communicating with me through ChatGPT, and that fucking enrages me.
Yeah.
Because it's a 50-word email. Like if
Yep.
you cannot form that on your own, babe, we need to take some PTO.
We
Like
need
go outside, feel the sun on your skin. This is getting crazy. And obviously, I just have to disclaim, I understand that there are like accessibility benefits. We're just talking about the general population right now.
Yeah.
Like you do not need to use Claude or ChatGPT to write your email. You're killing the planet. Like, and I'm not anti AI either. I think
Yeah.
that should be obvious. Like, I'm very AI fluent, AI literate, whatever you want to call it. I use it every day. I'm excited about some of the things that it is bringing. I'm also scared at some of the things that are coming up because of this, specifically when it comes to the future of the marketing job market
Yeah.
and just like this career. And I think I was talking to my fiance about this last night. I'm about to be just like such a Pisces right now. After some serious self-reflection over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of realized that I think the reason that I got into marketing, just to take us to therapy for 30 seconds, the reason I got into marketing is because when I was a kid, I felt like nobody ever got me. Like, I just always felt so different and strange and like sad because I just wanted to be friends with all these other kids, but I didn't wear the clothes that they were wearing, or like I was homeschooled, so going to my church youth group, I didn't go to school with all these other kids, and I just always felt very lonely and had this feeling that if somebody just understood who I was and what I was about, they would love me. And I think that's why I love marketing so much, is because I get to like do that all the time for brands and whatever. I get to like tell the story and pitch it in a way that makes people really excited and attracted to the concept in a way that like I wish that people had felt about me when I was 13. But I don't even remember why I'm saying this. Like, we're supposed to be talking about layoffs. I don't know where we're going.
I feel like because that's also a reason why I love, and I think I can bring this back to layoffs. I think,
Yeah.
and this it might be a hot take, but the reason why I got into marketing too is because I also love to tell a story, and I think I'm really good. I think you are too, good at extracting a story from something that people might not think there's a story there, but there is. That's like really interesting and that we should talk about. I feel like a lot of times when I talk to marketing leadership or just like, I don't know, when I'm talking to even just like everyday conversations, like someone will say something about themselves or about the company and they'll say like, well, that's not really that interesting. And I'm like, well, no, it actually is really interesting. And like, there's a narrative there that we can capitalize on. But here is my hot take. I think that leadership, right? And I think it's taking a turn, which is great. But I think right now, leadership is far too focused on attribution, on conversion rates, on this, like they're too focused on like the bottom funnel stuff. And that's kind of where more of like, that's like less the creative stuff and less like the bigger story and the stuff that we really like to tell. And they're so focused on like this bottom funnel stuff and they kind of like neglect all the rest of the funnel that's why all of these jobs are going away that are like kind of more in the content and the social world, because we're not quite at the point where marketing leadership is seeing marketing as a full funnel story. And we talked about this in this previous episode, and I think it directly relates to that. Like I feel like most of my career, I've complained about this so many times, and part of it is because I haven't been great at like selling what I do, but I think, a lot of it has to do with just like leadership just like not buying into it. But I feel like a lot of my job working in social, rather than doing my job that I'm hired to do, I spend way more time trying to convince people that like I'm valuable and the work that I'm doing is valuable. And
Yeah.
because I'm like exhausting myself in that realm and I'm not really able to focus on like really building out what I know what we're capable of, and I'm just constantly being like a lot of pushback and just like not given the proper resources to do what I need to do, I'm not able to see the success that I know can happen and I know can impact the bottom line of the business, even when I was better versed in like analytics and data and things like that. And I think that's like a top-down problem that is impacting layoffs significantly, especially in the social media and the content world, because again, we have this leadership that like, and again, I the more people that are like, I feel like in their piece now and they kind of grew up with social media and they're kind of phasing out, maybe the boomers of marketing leadership world, we're seeing a turn, which is really exciting. And I'm seeing that again in like these conversations I'm having with these tech startup founders I've been talking to, but I don't think it's there yet. And I think it's impacting the market. And yeah, I just, I think the most powerful part about marketing is the story and the community building around that. And when you tell a really awesome story, that's when your community shows up. And
Yeah.
brands should be following that formula more. And we see it, not just from a marketing perspective, but like when I tell my authentic story on LinkedIn, that's when I get the most engagement. And it's like, obviously, duh, because you're talking to humans. So like, I think if we took that like kind of mindset and more brands started applying it to their marketing strategies, they'd be much better off. But unfortunately, that doesn't bring the dollars in right away. So it's like a longer term strategy that in this economy, people aren't willing to be patient for, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And let me get off my soapbox now.
No, I'm like, yeah, I think working in social and content, our job is really easy for anybody at your company to look at and say, well, I can do that. That's really easy to do. And I feel like I don't even want to say that it's undervalued, but I do think that, like, I don't think that our outputs are undervalued. I think that the skill and strategy and creativity that goes into those outputs is significantly underestimated, which is why we're seeing a continued reliance on things like LLMs to produce both short form and long form content. I also think and I don't think this is a hot take, but I just wish more people would fucking say it out loud. I think that we have an obligation to look at AI um, and just say this is bad for humanity.
Yeah.
Like, this, just because we can do it, just because we have the technology to do it, doesn't mean we should.
Yeah.
Especially not at scale.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I'm so torn because I understand AI is not going away. I understand this is something that I need to be comfortable with, fluent in. I need to, like, start pioneering my way kind of through this if I want job security.
Yeah. No, for
But
real.
also, like, so much cognitive dissonance. Like, I don't want to engage with it. I'm doing
Yeah.
it out of survival because I like having a paycheck. I
Yeah.
generally like working in marketing. I understand this is something that is just a requirement, and I'll do that. I don't feel good about it. I'll just say that.
Yep. And in some of our other research too, for like trends for like the rest of 2025 in terms of the job market, Forrester Marketing put out a study this year that this year companies are going to start prioritizing marketers with like specialized AI skills. So like instead of like an AI generalist, like people are going to be like hiring more so people that are like specialized in a specific AI skill, whether that's prompt engineering, AI video editing, things like that. So like I feel the same exact way as you, Drue, where it's like, okay, I'm in this like weird thing where, yes, I'm unfortunately really well versed in AI. And when I'm in my interviews and I'm like, even on my resume, that's a big part of it is like I am fluent in the AI space. And it's just this, kind of back and forth where I'm like, sure, I'm fascinated by it. And I am fascinated by technology in general. Like I'm not anti-technology and AI is definitely the future, but it is, I hate that I'm feeling like I'm needing to sell my AI knowledge more than my actual knowledge. And that's the part that I struggle with because I'm like, listen, I am really fucking smart and I know how to do all this shit on my own without AI. And I've been doing it without AI for most of my career. I really only started really diving into AI in the last like year or two. I have almost a decade of experience without it. And like, I think, it's like now this current up and coming job market with, Gen Z or even Alpha, like they're like growing up with AI, which is like a really scary thing to think about. But yeah, I constantly struggle with that too. And it is like a huge part of job security. But then there's that other part where it's like, okay, because I'm so fluent in AI and if I'm hired to like build this system when I come in house to work for you, is that just going to get me out of a job? Is that just going to like take my job away eventually? So it's just like weird fucking dynamic in the layoff world right now. And I know like, again, there's so many conversations around like AI taking jobs and this and that. I think we've seen that firsthand with some of our friends, former colleagues, etc. Like AI literally taking their jobs. And it's fucking sad because you know how talented they are on their own without AI. And I think you and I both know AI can't replace the work that they're doing. And these companies, I feel like, will soon realize that. And then we'll probably see like job postings for their same jobs in like 6 months from now and they realize their performance is down. But yeah, it's it makes it even tougher. And it's not only just the AI, but like the current administration and the current economic state that we're in. There are so many factors that I've never experienced in the job market in the last 10 years of me being in it. And it makes it so fucking hard to navigate.
Yeah.
There's things I've never really dealt with before.
Yeah. I want to turn this episode around and maybe start talking because I'm just going to start crying if we keep going down this road. But having been through several layoffs for at least between the two of us, I want to talk through for people who are for our listeners. I want to give some advice on what to do right now if you are starting to feel that kind of insecurity creeping up, where you are just taking this all in, maybe not feeling super great. I want to give a quick playbook on what you can do to feel more prepared and more equipped to handle whatever the fuck the rest of 2025 is going to be.
Yeah. I love that transition because I think I need to talk about that too, just for my own mental health. I think so, like I said before, this last 6 months has been extremely mentally difficult for me. And I've gone through ebbs and flows of feelings of doom, feelings of hope. And it's this constant mental whiplash. But I think the last like month or so, what has really helped me is just investing my energy into things that, and this might sound cliche and stupid, but I promise you, like, this has been such a game changer for me and just navigating this market. And I've gotten way more job leads from doing this versus all the cold applying and other bullshit I was doing that wasn't getting me anywhere. But I think for me, the biggest thing has just been investing my energy into things that fill my cup and into personal projects. And I think we talked about this in our episode with Devaney, but like you have complete control over your personal brand, whether that's the personal brand that you put out on LinkedIn or just something that your personal brand is you, like the person that you have to show up for every single day. And the less that you like focus on that, the further away you'll be from it and the more lost that you'll feel in it. That's how I felt for several months where I'm just like, I don't even know who the fuck I am. What am I doing? What do I want to be doing? Because I was so focused on chasing something else and so focusing on it, like it's kind of like I was constantly auditioning for people. Like I was like,
Yeah.
whether that was recruiters or, like just I don't know, I felt so far removed from the person that I was and I wasn't investing anything in who I wanted to be as a person. And I think doing this podcast and I started writing a Substack and being really consistent with that. I was, just showing up for myself more and focusing on things that like, you have, I kind of like made a mental list in my head of like what things give me like high frequency energy. Like, let me just chase that versus focusing on these things that are bringing me loads of anxiety, making me feel like shit, getting constant rejections from jobs I'm applying to. And when I started focusing more on the better vibe stuff that was filling my cup, the more people were in my DMs about job opportunities, like just like the more awesome conversations I was having with people in my industry. And I've just really was able to open up my head and my heart to maybe like a non-traditional, I guess, like job seeking route. And it just was less focused on like the negativity and more focused on like, okay, well, fuck all of that noise. Let me just do what I'm good at and do what I know I'm good at and let me show people who I am beyond the bullet points of my resume because we know that doesn't tell the full story of what you've done and who you are. And that's what I encourage people to do. Like really chase those things that, build your passion project and use that as a part of, your selling point for why you'd be good at a company. Like really start to just focus on what fills your cup. And that's really hard to do when you're like navigating like a really uncertain job market and you still have to pay your bills and all this stuff. Like I'm not getting paid for this podcast right now, but it still fulfills a side of me that like I'm able to show up for myself more and I'm in a much better mental place, which allows me to focus on, just things that again are helping me propel me in the right direction that I want to be in. So,
Yeah. No, I think kind of what I've been focusing on, because as somebody who fortunately is still employed right now, I think I still just I'm part of that 72% of marketers or whatever it was that is just feeling insecure about our industry and career path. And something that I have started doing over the last couple of weeks, trying to be like very intentional about, is just forcing myself to fall back in love with marketing and remind myself like why I'm here, why I chose content and demand gen, like why I like showing up and doing this every day, because outside of the anxiety, like nobody dreams of labor, but if I have to have a job, like pretty glad it's this one and it's this field. Like it's fun. And in the grand scheme of things, it's honestly pretty easy. Like
yeah.
I'm not curing cancer, I'm not doing surgery. And like I think falling back in love with marketing has been really helpful. And it's also reminded me, kind of touching on that aspect of your personal brand, knowing like that there might be a day where like I'm having to get a new job or whatever. Like just in general, I think as a marketer, like you need to remember that every interaction that you have on LinkedIn or like in your career is like kind of your own marketing campaign. And you as a person, like I think treating yourself as a brand that you would work for is really helpful. It's much harder to do when you're actively job seeking, but if you're still in-house, you still feel a hint of stability, I would really encourage you to just kind of think through like, what is this marketing campaign? Like, what is this brand story that you're telling people about yourself? And I'm not telling you to go be a LinkedIn influencer. Like, I don't think everyone needs to do that, but I think in general, like your portfolio and your resume and just how you're showing up in the work that you're doing day to day, it all should kind of like go back to the same set of core values and your mission as a marketer. And I will say, having aligned on that for myself has helped with the anxiety and the burnout quite a bit.
Yeah. And I think it's about, I love you said falling back in love with marketing, but it's like more like falling back in love with marketing on your terms, not the company that you work for, but on your terms and how you want to fall back in love with it and what you enjoy the most about it. And I think, I keep praising this podcast, but I really feel like both of us, this is our way of doing that, is like we're having these conversations and providing this space that we feel like was missing, but we're really passionate about talking about, that is so relevant. Like these conversations are so important to have and not enough people are having them. And that's why we're here. And I think it's given us both this like really strong sense of purpose of the marketing world. And again, like I think we just get as a society, and regardless of what industry you work in, but especially in marketing, we take it too seriously most of the time. And we're like, we get so bogged down with Slack messages and emails and meetings. And we're like, every day I feel like we're setting out fires and all this kind of shit. But it's like, if you just are able to like remove yourself from it and again like focus on building who you are as a person, whether that's like a personal brand or like a personal brand within marketing, and how you kind of like how you're falling in love with marketing, I think it just is so helpful in building a greater perspective on how you show up for yourself in the workplace. And I think I used to be like in my early 20s, I was like kind of like, so when I was job hunting, I was like, I felt like I had to put on this like corporate Beth and then non-corporate Beth, like when I first started out when I was like 22, and I felt like I was just like two different people, and I couldn't like, I had, this is like some lore, but like I used to have a really kind of a popular blog back in the day about like dating and mental health and all this kind of stuff. It was like kind of like similar to my Substack, but much more, I don't know. It was like back in like the WordPress blogging days, but I had like a couple of like viral articles, whatever. But anyways, I got really real and honest with myself and would share those stories with the world. And I remember like talking to someone at this internship I had, and I was like kind of grappling with like, should I include this blog on my resume when I'm interviewing? And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, well, it is like, it's a big part of who I am. And it also shows that like, from like a corporate perspective, it shows that like I'm a strong writer. I know how to connect with audiences. Like I built this like online kind of personal brand. I feel like that's all relevant, but I was told not to because it would be like, I don't know, taboo to show up as myself, which was kind of which is kind of what I struggled with. And I think that's was like a big proponent of me kind of working for myself for the first half of my career. But now that I'm a lot more confident in who I am and kind of the types of employers I want to work for, because if people are going to like dismiss me or not want to work with me because of like the content that I'm posting or the person that I am, then I probably don't want to work for them anyways. Like, yeah, it's just been, I think also just like getting comfortable with like showing up as who you are, whether it's your personal life and professional life.
Yeah. Yeah. If they don't want to work with you because you're talking about your mental health on LinkedIn, oh my God, like find someone else. Like this is not a loss for you. Boring. Tomato. Yeah, dude. I don't know how I feel right now. I feel exhausted. I feel excited. And I just kind of feel the need to say, at the end of the day, this doesn't fucking matter anyway. Like have a good work ethic, show up, do your best. We live on a floating rock. We have the most made up jobs there have ever been. Like, I love it. Like, this is just so not serious. And I don't say that to like dismiss anyone's anxiety or worry. Like I've said 100 times on this last 45 minutes, but like, let's just be so fucking for real. It doesn't matter. Who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? Who knows what's going to happen in 20 years? Like show up and do your best today, but I'm saying this for myself. You just got to get out of your head, dude. Like,
and I want to add this to that conversation as well, is like, you need to learn how to remove yourself emotionally from the corporate company that you're working at and not tie your entire stuff. Cause I really struggled with that. Like, because again, my first half of my career working for myself, I was the whole brand, I was the whole business. And that was the hardest part of like, there was so much emotional tie to it. So when I started working in corporate, I tied a lot of my emotional self to the company. And, it's also partly the organization's fault too, because all these companies are like selling you and like, oh, we're family, we would like whatever. But it's like, no.
Run.
Yeah, literally. And I think that's especially relevant in like the tech world where like they're like, oh, we're just like one big family and like whatever, we care about you so much. But like once the company starts going to shit, they're going to cut you and not give a fuck. So like, I think when I got laid off, like the first time I was like, I took it so personally because I had so much of my emotions tied into that company. And it's not, I'm not saying not to be passionate about the work that you're doing, but like kind of what Drew was saying is like, it's understand that it's not that serious and don't give your entire self to these companies because again, like they will cut you the moment that, I don't know, like sometimes it's not even that you're not making the money. They just like need to cut someone. And like I've heard of like nightmare things where they have a spreadsheet of people that like could be on the chopping block and they just have a random AI generator pick who's getting laid off, which is so fucked up. And like I like that, but that's the reality of the world that we're living in. So like if I could give like one piece of really like practical advice, it's that. It's like learn how to remove yourself emotionally from the work that you're doing. And it's not just from a corporate perspective, but also if you work from yourself. Like you need to have an existence, you need to have a personality outside of your work. And if you develop that, if you have a strong personal brand outside of like the professional, like day to day 9 to 5 that you have, you're going to be much better off if you get let go or if you have like a slow month with clients because you're like, it's okay. I'm still a person outside of this. And that's hard to do when like you're working 40 plus hours and a lot of your, personal being is kind of tied to work and finances. And that's what makes it so hard is the finances that are tied to it because the economy right now and paying bills is fucking terrible. But it's still important. And I think that's something I've learned the hard way over my career. And I think that's why, like, when I got laid off my last one, I was like more okay, even if it was shock, because I'm like, it's all right. I didn't attach myself so much to this job. I'm my own person and they don't own me and they don't own my mental health. They don't own the person I am. I am a person outside of this company and like I will be okay. And I think that's something that, I learned through lots of therapy sessions and just like working through it with myself too.
Yeah. I would also say maybe that's my second piece of advice for anybody listening that feels like they just need a next step is just go to therapy, babe. I used Alma to find my therapist. I highly recommend it. It was very easy. But like go to therapy and just you got to remove yourself because at the end of the day, you're just here for a paycheck. If we all didn't need money, nobody would be here. Like there wouldn't be companies to market for. So just ground yourself in that. Like I said, do your best, but your best isn't everything you got. Like you still need to have energy for other things in your life, your friendships, your relationships, your family, your pets. You need to show up everywhere, and you can't do that if you're only giving everything to a business that I'm so sorry sees you as a dollar sign.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. I also would say, I don't know, I'm feeling very reminiscent of our episode with Devaney. So we'll link that in the card or in the show notes. If you guys haven't listened to episode 5, I think if you liked this one, you'll like that one even more because Devaney is a treasure and had a lot of really great things to say in that show. So we'll link that for sure.
Yeah. And before we go to, I just want to, anyone who's going through it in the layoffs right now and looking for a job, I just want to take a moment to validate you and your feelings and know that beyond all the toxic positivity you might see on LinkedIn of people being like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I know that's really hard and that doesn't make it any better because it is really fucking hard. Like it's really hard. I myself have gone through several mental and emotional breakdowns like the last several months and it's fucking hard. And I said at the beginning of the episode, but the only thing that's really keeping me sane is just following the North Star. That is, it will be okay. And I know that's like a very simplified thing, but you have to believe that. And I think, and if I were to leave you with like one piece of advice, it would be the word build, whether that's building a personal brand, whether that's building a newsletter or building something, building a fucking garden in your backyard. I don't know. Focus on building yourself up. And that is the most important thing you can do because if you're not showing up for yourself, you won't be able to show up for others in the world and it'll make your job search so much harder. So if you needed that reminder, I hope you internalize that and focus on it and you'll be okay. And it's probably not you, it's the fucking job market. So just know that.
Yeah. I echo that 100%. The job market right now is just crazy. And I feel like every time I log on LinkedIn, I'm just continuing to be blown away in a really horrible way. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully this all settles soon. And my dream, my wish, my prayer is that this specific podcast episode is so irrelevant 3 months from now. Like,
Yep. Me too.
yeah, I think it goes without saying, if you're going through this, if you have been through this, questions, comments, feedback, our DMs are open. We always have our email address in the show notes, but also find us on LinkedIn. Beth and I both love to yap, and we'd love to yap with you.
And I want to also add too, like on that note, more people are willing to help you than not. So
Amen.
know that. And if you ever want to message us about it, like you're not, I know like for me, I always am like, am I annoying just doing this? Like, no, more people want to help you than not. So lean on your community. That's going to be your biggest proponent through this whole entire process. So reach out to us, listen to this podcast episodes a million times if you need to, like just to like, I don't know, feel some sort of validation, but it's tough, but we're all in this together.
Amen. Thank you guys so much for listening. I feel like this was short, sweet, hard to record, stirring up a lot of feelings. I am going to go journal after we log off and get my head clear. But tune in next week. We'll drop our next episode every Wednesday. Check out our Substack on Thursday. And please give us a rating, a comment, a follow.
Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, all the things.
Yeah. Cool.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.